Hi there, and welcome to Lost in Literature. Uh, Today I'll be looking at atmosphere. So, how do you bring in atmosphere in a story? And if you remember, I advised you to go for the story writing question in your language paper because that would give you the scope to be creative, and it won't make it won't make any demands on you to rack your brains for information like some of the other topics would. So I would always suggest story writing and looking at it from the point of view of the examiner. It's fun to correct a story. um, I get very bored looking at all these serious topics. I mean, how technology has affected the world, advantages of science, and do you think children should be given mobiles? That kind of, stuff really bores me. If I'm an examiner, I look first for stories because it's such fun reading it and it's also fun writing it. If you remember, again, we spoke about how action is very important in a story. This time, I'm going to talk about atmosphere. Atmosphere is really important, all right? Or a story could be absolutely dull, flavorless. It is the atmosphere that draws the reader in. It triggers off feelings in him. He starts reacting to the narrator if you create the right atmosphere, depending on the topic. All right. So, what is atmosphere in the first place? Basically, it means uh, a kind of aura or mood that surrounds a story. So, it's really important. Now, before I go further, I would like you to imagine a situation of this kind. If you were watching a horror movie at home, let's say, would you enjoy it as much as you would enjoy it in a theater which is dark and you get the feeling of being all alone, and you have the surround sound, and the whole thing kind of comes alive because of the big screen, and the story could be so engrossing on account of the atmosphere that you even forget to pop your popcorn into your mouth. There are movies of that kind, right? And especially some of these horror movies really get you. But think of the same thing at home. There you are watching, let's say, Conjuring or some other really dreadful movie. It's supposed to scare the daylights out of you. And then, as you get to the tense part, your mom suddenly comes into the living room and she says, "Hey, can you just go to the grocer's and pick up a bunch of coriander for me? I need it for lunch." So then you sigh, pause the video, and then you go to the grocer's. Or your dad might just walk into the room and then, seeing you so absorbed in the movie, he might get an idea. For him, it would be the best time to lecture you on the importance of studies. Or worse, the family dog might just throw up on the carpet and there is pandemonium in the house with your mother shrieking and your dad leading the sick dog out. So all these things go on, there are enough interruptions, and somehow the movie fails to get your attention as it does in a theater. So let's face it, atmosphere is something very important in a story. Now, what are the different things that go into creating an atmosphere? Well, the first thing is the setting. Uh, let's say if your story is some kind of an action set in a restaurant, you want to whip up the scene there, the layout of the restaurant and the ambience there, maybe the soft music and the way the tables are arranged, the soft clink of cutlery, subdued conversation, and if it is night, maybe dim lights. All these things contribute to the atmosphere. And then the menu card where you're poring over what to eat and you discuss it in hushed tones with your family. So all these contribute. Or let's think uh, of an amusement park. Now, what kind of atmosphere would you have there? You will walk in and there is this crowd milling about and you're filled with excitement or maybe nervousness, right, to go for your first roller coaster ride ever. So there you are walking along with either your family or your friends, and then you see these extremely dangerous, scary looking roller coasters, and you know those roller coasters are in action, and you see them taking those twists and turns and those zero gravity drops and whatnots, and your heart is in your mouth. And there you are standing in the line, in the queue to, get to your turn to ride the roller coaster. And what are your feelings then? You go through a whole lot of feelings, and maybe your reader can, uh, you know, experience those feelings vicariously and be with you in the story. So, this is the beauty of a setting. It draws the reader into the story, it sets up an imaginative map for him so that he can literally visualize the place where the story is taking place. And the second thing that is very important is the narrator himself. What is the tone that he is using? Think about it. Is he, uh, talking in this casual, humorous tone, or is he in a tense situation? The sentences are short and he's worried. Um, what are the things that you note? And how does his tone affect you as a reader? Okay? Uh, are you in sympathy with him, or do you feel he's not exactly doing the right thing? Like if he is walking into danger and you want to tell him, like in one of the stories I read, which is called Dark Paris, and the whole thing takes place in catacombs in Paris, the underworld, okay? And you have this girl meeting a boy who works in um, the supermarket. So he comes out after a shift, and she's a strange girl. She falls into step with him, and he doesn't mind because he's really bored with life and he's looking for some fun, and he thinks it's great, it's cool to walk along with a girl, and they're talking, and she says, "Hey, will you walk with me to the and leave me at the entrance of the catacombs?" And so they're walking together, and they've reached the entrance of the catacombs, all right? And then he kind of peeps inside, and you have these flaring torches all around, and he can just get a glimpse of that. And then this girl addresses him by his name. And he wonders, my God, how come she knows my name? But even then, the guy is not all that sensitive. She tells him, look, tomorrow, why don't you come here and meet me after your work? Because I would like you to meet the doorkeeper, whoever it is. And already our curiosity is aroused. Will the protagonist, Lewis, turn up at the entrance of the catacombs the next day? Big question in your mind. So I found that quite a hook in that story, and the narrator's tone, it's Lewis talking about it. At least the story is emerging from his end, and you can really sense how much he wants a livelier life. He's so bored with his daily routine. So it's that kind of a thing. And the narrator's tone is very important. And now we'll move on to the third thing that contributes to the atmosphere, and that is the choice of language. Collocation. What kind of words would you use in a given situation? Now, you know what you're going to do in a horror story. You'll have that door creaking, you have the curtains moving in a very suggestive manner. You can hear footsteps slowly coming up the wall, steps, and you have the passage yawning in front of you, and you can anticipate something dreadful is going to happen. So it is very important that the kind of words you choose trigger off all kinds of feelings and colors. The atmosphere, the situation, it livens up your feelings. All right? The final thing that I would say, which contributes to the atmosphere in the story, is imagery. Imagery in terms of sight, smell, touch, sight, smell, touch. What else, for God's sake? Looks like I have forgotten, and I have to look at these skimpy notes where I have noted down the points. Yeah, sight, sound, smell, taste, and also touch. So, what happens here is our senses kind of come alive, right? The sounds in a spooky place, the visual effect of a roller coaster, you know, crashing and thundering about its route, or the ghostly touch, feeling of touch, the feathery touch on your skin of some kind of an insubstantial spooky creature. Okay? Or, for instance, a sudden rotten smell in the air, which kind of lets you know that something offensive is heading towards you. So all these things help you perceive the story at a more physical level. So I suggest you think about these things and take up a number of questions dealing with stories in your total English, and try to work on it, concentrating on the action of the story. And then, of course, the atmosphere that you provide. And of course, characterization. That is also very important. And I think I will talk about it next time. So that's it. I'll leave you now to think about atmosphere, and do leave a comment, and do hit a like if you think my talk has been helpful to you. So bye for now and see you later.